Hey team, welcome back to Ross Spec. I was pretty successful baselining the XR8 at Queensland Raceway. It was quicker than Robin's first time out there and it was only slightly slower than her personal best. But it didn't come without its issues. I might have found the limit of the factory brakes. But today, I've got some parts that I'm going to start throwing at it, and it's not just only brakes, to see if we can make her even better. Come on, let's get into it. I did a good job of melting the front brakes in only 9 laps. It might have been summer in Queensland, but a barbecue is better in the backyard rather than the front wheels. So to give the brakes a better chance of lasting, I've gone with the DBA 5000 series front rotor, which is a 2-piece design and is actually 355mm disc. And to match that, I've got Ferodo DS2500 brake pads. But I hear you saying, Roscoe, you're an idiot. The 355mm discs don't fit the PBR calipers, and you'd be right. I would have loved to have gone with the same 6-piston Brembo calipers that FPV fitted back in the day, but they just don't exist anymore. I almost bought a set last year, but at the time I didn't have anything to put them on. I've already fitted a set to both my FPV GS and FG XR8. But what I do have is the old Brembos that came off my FGX. They are a 4-piston rather than a 6, but they've been sitting on the shelf for years and I think it's time to put them back into action. I won't be using the factory brake hoses because I've got new braided lines for both the front and the back. That comes with all the hardware to fit it. Well, they don't make DS2500 pads to fit the single rear piston calipers. I've got a set of DBA Race Performance pads for the rear. The FGX rear caliper also accommodated a bigger 328mm disc, so I have a new set of DBA 4000 series rotors for the rear. Better than that, while the stock FG XR8 rear discs are solid, these ones from the FGX are vented. With the brakes going off more and more each lap, I didn't actually get to test the edge of performance, but remembering how much my GS benefited from a suspension upgrade, I've grabbed myself a set of Shockworks coilovers. Chris at Shockworks was excellent. He rang me up to determine how I was going to use the car. So these have been built for predominant track use, but can be driven to and from the track. After hearing the ride height I intended to run, which is roughly between the XR8 and the GS, he added the helper springs on each corner as well. And to make it easier to dial in some more camber in the front, I'm recycling a set of K-Mac camber adjusters. These used to be on my GS. They have 2 different holes to mount to the upper control arm, one for more street setting and the other for track. And at the bottom there is a ratcheting feature to dial it in even more. Potentially what you can do is get a wheel alignment for street, paint mark it, then one for track and mark that too. In between track days the car can be quickly changed between the two. Enough jibber jabber, time to put some parts on. I started by removing the wheel, broke the caliper bolts free, and cracked the brake line. Then I could remove the brake caliper and the old disc. At this stage I hung the brake caliper out of the way. I didn't want to disconnect the line yet because I wanted to minimise the amount of brake fluid I dropped. With the disc out of the way, using a wire brush I could clean up the hub. Knowing it is easier to replace the shock assembly with the brakes out of the way, I disconnected the sway bar, then the bottom shock bolt. Up the top I had to remove the coolant top tank to access the nuts. But with the tank out of the way I could remove the 3 remaining nuts. Then lower the front control arms and lift the shock out. Now it was time to replace the camber plates. The Ford modular engine is wide, very wide. There is very little room in the engine bay to remove the nuts on the back of the camber plates. It was a game of patience and slowly undoing with a spanner. On the front lower nuts, I could fit a 3/8" ratchet in there, but that was the only one. With the nuts all but off, I could undo the bolts holding the upper control arm to the camber plates and pull the upper control arm off. Then fully remove the old camber plates, doing my best to retain all the shims. Then it was time to put in the K-Mac adjustable camber plates and finger tighten the nuts. Again, the lack of space made getting the nuts on challenging. I had to hold them with the tips of my fingers and slowly thread them on. Luckily my wingspan was big enough, and giving the front guard a cuddle, I could hold both the plate in place and put the nuts on at the rear. Then through a mix of naivety and stupidity, I put the shock back in. I even tightened it all the way down. There was a little bit of thinking in there because I got the ABS sensor out of the way. Then when I went to put the upper control arm back in, I realised the shock needed to be out of the way to get the bolts in. So I just undid the top 3 nuts so that I could swing the shock out of the way. Now being stubborn, I tried to manhandle the upper control arm into place, but had no luck. So taking a step back, I fully removed the shock and control arm again, and it all went back together, piece of piss. Now I could get the Brembo ready for the car. I started by pushing the pistons back, then I removed the pin retaining clips. Once the clips were out, using a small punch I could gently knock the pins out. And then remove the pads. In preparation for the new disc, I could refit the ABS sensor. Before the discs go in, I can take a side by side of the old versus new discs and pads. While the pad surface is about the same size, the 4-piston calipers should produce more evenly distributed force. This should help me with managing my brake temperatures. The disc is also 33mm larger in diameter, and the 2-piece design allows for more cooling in the center, while also reducing the total mass of an equivalent 1-piece disc. After giving the disc a bit of a clean up with some brake clean, I could chuck it on, and then mount the Brembo caliper in place. Then chuck the new Ferodo pads in, and hold them in place with the pins. Now it's time to remove the rubber hoses from the caliper, and install the new braided line. Finally, I could pry out the old brake hose retaining clip, undo the old brake hose, and connect the new braided line. Then put the retaining clip back in and tighten it up. Last but not least, secure the ABS sensor to the braided line using the supplied clip. Then I could do the passenger side. Only real differences here were, first the intake pipe had to come out to access the top shock bolts. Then due to the air conditioning line and the ECU cables, there was even less room to get the camber plate nuts out. But luckily the engine still had stock headers for now. There was a space in the pipes to come up from underneath with a concoction of extensions and universal joints to get to the back camber plate nuts from underneath. Then instead of installing the camber plates to the car first, I put them loosely on the upper control arm. This meant I didn't have to fight the upper control arm into place, and the weight of the upright and arms held the camber plates in position when I put the nuts on. It was definitely worth the trouble to put them in though. By doing a rough at road height comparison, the camber has already gone from 0.75 degrees to 1.1, and they are currently wound right out. From memory I used to get about 3 degrees of camber on the GS. The rear, like the front, started with taking off the wheels. Then because the shocks were last tightened by the Hulk, I had to use an extra long breaker bar to loosen the bottom bolt. After undoing the sway bar links, I could jump out from underneath, lean on the brake disc and pop the spring out of place. Then I could undo the top shock bolt and get the shock out of the way. To seat the spring perch in the subframe, there's a little tab that I had to hammer flat so that it would fit. I accidentally sheared it straight off. I guess it's out of the way, but I might try to be more gentle on the other side. Won't be a problem now, but might be if I ever want to return it back to stock in the future. Then I could build up the rear assembly. First the spring, then the seat, then the helper spring, and at the top the adjustable spring perch. Using the jack I could get it to sit in position. Then the new shock could go in. Moving over, you can see the tab I sheared off on the other side. Let's see if I can knock it flat rather than off. Much better this time. It's almost flat. Then the new springs and shocks could go on this side and I could move on to the rear brakes. Like the front, it was caliper and disc off. Crack the brake line. But this time the brake hose retaining plate rivet had to be drilled out. With that done, I could clean the axle mounting face and slide on the new disc. After pushing back the pistons, I put the new pads in the calipers and chuck the calipers back on. Then I could remove the old brake hose from the caliper and install the new braided line, finishing it off with a new rivet to the body and getting rid of the old caliper. Okay team, there you go. I've upgraded the brakes, adjustable suspension and added more camber adjustment. All I have to do now is bleed the brakes, bed the pads in, finalise the ride height and get a proper wheel alignment. Now this is normally the point where I transition to see how she goes on the track, but unfortunately there's no track days that I can easily get to at the moment. But that's not a bad thing, because I've got some more bits and pieces I want to throw at it before then. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see what I'm going to put in, and until next time remember, there's more to going fast than going fast. Catch you later.